I encountered this teaching, the fourth way teaching, when I was 17, and I found it very profound and got me on some fire. And then I was focused on this teaching for maybe 13, 14 years. That's why I came here. I was in a spiritual school focused on studying and applying these teachings. Anyway, then I left that spiritual school, and then I studied a lot of other teachings, somehow related. Zen, Vipassana, Buddhism, Tibetan stuff, the teachings of David Hawkins, Eckhart Tolle, Adyashanti, Non-Duality, Direct Path, Francis Lucille, Rupert Spira, then got into shadow work and somatic psychotherapy and trauma and repression and a lot of psychological stuff and a lot of teachings. And however, I have found that somehow, although I studied all these things, the more I studied these things, I could see that the initial fourth way map held. I was like, oh yeah, somehow it was applicable somehow to all of these paths. It still verified itself. So this fourth way teaching was. I don't want to go into too much at all about Gurdjieff and the history and all of that. There's a lot online, so I don't want to go into that. But this teaching of the fourth way has been brought to the West in early 1900s in Russia by this Greek Armenian mystic, sage Gurdjieff. He was, and then he attracted a number of students and highly intelligent, brilliant, devoted students. And then this teaching spread. There were highly bad situations at that time, war and First World War, Second World War, the Bolshevik Revolution. So they had to escape and run because esoteric schoolwork cannot be done in places where there's crisis and war. I mean, it can be done, but it's not ideal. And the teaching spread. There were many groups. There were other prominent students of Gurdjieff who attained certain results, and they started to do other groups. So there are different lineages and traditions, but all using this so-called fourth way teaching of Gurdjieff. This is the modern day, let's say, history of it. The idea is that this fourth way teaching is an ancient teaching. It was not concocted by Gurdjieff or by me or anybody like that. It was an ancient teaching that there are traces of it throughout humanity, like hundreds, thousands of years ago. Weave in and out of humanity may take different forms. There's strong similarities or seeming overlap or some kind of, similarities with Tibetan Buddhism, Dzogchen, Buddhism, Sufi, which is the esoteric, mystical side of Islam, and Christian, Greek Christian Orthodox, more like esoteric, mystical side of it. And apparently, Gurdjieff found this teaching after many, many years of research and seeking. He ended up in some kind of secluded, secret monasteries in Asia, and he spent a lot of time there. And at some point, he was tasked to leave and to bring this teaching in the West of that time, the West, which was like 1900. And he was tasked to study the people at that time and put this teaching in a way, in a form, in some words that they will make sense to them. because the people in the West at that time, and we are a continuation of those people, they were very different than a lot of the other people. They were in these monasteries and mystical East 1800, 1700. So, yeah. Now, okay, in preparing for listening to this, also, by the way, I want you to practice. A big part of fourth way work is to struggle against the tendency of falling asleep spiritually by getting lost in the mind. So as I'm talking, you guys are going to check out about this or that, what you're going to do afterwards, or what you've done this or that. So it becomes like a wong. Yeah. So this kind of thing happens in us all the time, and the invitation is to make an effort to harness your attention, and since you are here and you pay money to be here, to get your money's worth and to be present to this information. And whenever you catch yourself somewhere else, bring yourself back. Some let's say prerequisites of suggestions in listening these teachings are the following. Listening to this teaching are the following. Although it may seem like similar to stuff that you know or you practiced, do the best you can to remain open and not just be in this, oh yeah, I know this is like that, oh yeah, this is like this and that. So try to not let your mind associate and go out for a spin, comparing and doing this. So try to the best you can be open and present to it. And the important part of this teaching is you don't have to believe it. Basically, it's not good to believe it. Don't believe it. Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what I'm saying. It doesn't require faith. Blind faith. The idea is to try to be open, try to verify for yourself by applying these teachings on yourself, and then you have a chance to verify for yourself in your own experience. So in the fourth way, the faith is the result of verification. This teaching is not concocted by the usual mind, like a mental concoction of somebody who is a regular person, spiritually asleep. So these teachings, they come from a higher mind, meaning comes from people or tradition that already attained a high level of evolutionary level of consciousness, and they have, from one angle, escaped from the prison of our unconscious, mechanical, sleepwalking kind of setting. And so these teachings are an attempt. It's like let's say somebody who escaped out of a maximum security prison and is sending maps and detailed instructions and maps how to get out, and instructions how to dig, and instructions how to make certain tools to dig, and instructions how to organize. So rather than be a one guy with a spoon, like in the Count of Monte Cristo, to be like 20 people or 10 people that have serious technology, and they are all digging in the right direction. It's important to dig in the right direction, so to come out of the prison rather than dig and end up in another cell, a little bigger or somewhere else. These fourth way teachings, they, as I said, that's a very comprehensive, so it's a big challenge for me to come with just some stuff. In this teaching, there are two aspects, part of evolutionary work. The idea is to, so also I want to say that none of this is my stuff. None of the thing that I say here, I didn't come up with it. in my ponderings. Yeah, however, all that I said here, I have verified to a large degree. And so I'm, yeah, I verified to a large degree, but it's not my thing, yeah? In this teaching, it is important to study both the psychology as well as the cosmology. The psychology, in the fourth way, the psychology is different than what we call these days psychology. And, you know, this teaching came into 1900, which was actually the very beginning of psychology. I mean, Freud was at the time, the first theories in Freud and Jung were happening. But part of this work is to study the psychology, but what is meant by that is the inner workings of this, is called in the fourth way the machine, but in a more updated term, I will be the inner workings of the biocomputer. That I'll go more into it later. So the inner workings, how it works, what's happening with the mind, what's happening with the emotions, what's happening with the sensations, what's happening with various dimensions of our psychic, energetic. However, unlike the usual psychology that is done these days, and I'm in this world of psychology, the psychology of the fourth way, it's the psychology of man's possible awakening. It's the psychology of evolution. Yeah. So it's important to study the psychology, and then it's important to study the cosmology. The cosmology in the fourth way terminology means there are some universal laws that govern the creation. Like we know, let's say gravity or inertia, the physicists discovered that here on this planet, but there are other universal laws that somehow govern what's happening, therefore govern our body-mind. So it's important to study those two and some kind of the bigger picture. However, for this little presentation I'm going to do today, I'm not going to go into the cosmology, although it is very important. I'm going to focus more on the psychology of it and some practical applications. Why is it called the fourth way? Which is interesting because time has changed a lot. So at the time, in 1900s, yeah, and 1600s and 1200 and 1000 AD, think of these days, yeah? At those days, anybody who was seriously interested in evolutionary work or reaching God or waking up or enlightenment or however we call it, any serious spiritual seeker, in those days, there were different ways to go about this spiritual work and spiritual seeking. And there are four ways, so to say, styles of going up the mountain, so to say, up the spiritual mountain. There are different characteristics. The first way is the path where the work is focusing on studying and mastering the physical body. So attaining a certain high level of consciousness or certain level of mastery, transcendence, insight, and development via focusing on the physical body, struggling with it. Anyway, the focus, the path that is walked is connected to the body, and this used to be called the way of the fakir. The second way was called the way of the monk. The way of the monk, and in the second way, the primary avenue or area of explorations is the emotional center, the heart. The second way, the focus was around developing some kind of devotion, love of God, somehow mastering the whole psychic through this focusing on developing the qualities of the heart, devotion, prayer. This could be, this way of the monk can be in a Christian tradition, could be in a Sufi tradition, could be in a Indian tradition, doesn't matter, but it's via the heart. The third way is called the way of the yogi, and yogi, it doesn't mean what it means now. There's some asanas and some relaxation and some breath work and some more asanas. The way of the yogi would be mastering actually through the mind and higher reasoning. So reaching high level of insight or consciousness or transcendence, or via mastering the mind and disciplining the mind and transcending the mind, the intellect. Yeah. So all of these three paths that I mentioned, all of them required renunciation of the world. If anybody was seriously about this, needed to give up being a regular person and go to an ashram or a monastery or in a special secluded situations where one is protected and guided and focuses on that. So you have to give up the usual life. The fourth way, the difference between the fourth way and all the other ways was that the fourth way, it requires the necessity of working on all of this at the same time. Some degree of mastery and study of the body, high degree of study and mastery and developing of the heart, and a high degree of study and mastery and transcendence of the mind. All of them need to happen all at once. And one particular characteristic of the fourth way is that it doesn't require to go out somewhere to live your world and be an ascetic or in an ashram. And it's important not to do that. So the ashram, the monastery is our life. When we go to job and we have a girlfriend or we have kids, we become a father. So it's the fourth way happens in the midst of ordinary conditions of everyday life. And that is why it's called the fourth way. Now, what I was talking to an old friend of mine with Peter Engel, who was a student and teacher of the fourth way, we realized that what I have just said doesn't quite apply so much anymore, because nobody fucking goes to monastery or ashram now or goes to some school. So basically everybody I know on the path, all my friends, they were all like this in some way. All this online stuff and all these spiritual schools and traditions that are happening these days. So what is interesting is it's almost like it's the age of the fourth way. It's not the fourth way ended and now it's some kind of free for all. No, it's that this is the age of the fourth way where large majority of seekers are in life. How about let's take 3 bells to let the mind settle a little bit and get back to here and now, yeah? Otherwise, it's just some kind of lecture, man, and you guys are dreaming and I'm talking. Let's just take 3 bells, yeah? Actually, the most important practice of the fourth way for beginners and intermediate, and for anybody advanced too, is this, which I recommend that even if it's taken out of context and we didn't explain why and who and where, we can still practice it. So the most important is this conscious effort to be present. Yeah, so the body and the mind are here, the biocomputer is here, and to keep our awareness present to what is here. Yeah? Usually the body is here and the mind goes somewhere else. Or the body is here, there are certain feelings or uncomfortableness. I don't like that. So then I am going in the mind somewhere else. So the body is here, but I'm avoiding what's happening energetically and I'm checking out in some la-la land. This is the natural state of humanity. So this most essential fourth way practice is to struggle against this mechanical, unconscious, spiritually asleep tendency of living like that. Our parents live like that, our politicians live like that, everybody lives like that. So the practice is to keep the mind here. You know, you just need to listen. You don't have to plan anything, you don't have to do anything, all this can wait. So just keep your mind here, and you are just aware of the room, aware of other people, but also aware of, you know, some thought comes up. It's like, oh wow, this is kind of fucking this or that. Like, oh, I don't know about it. Yeah, you notice this thought. Yeah, there are sensations or feelings in the body. You notice them, and you don't fight them. You just let them be the best you can. Yeah, so we are kind of present to the inner world. In the inner world, there are thoughts, sensations, and feelings. And present to the outer world, like sounds and sights. So, and we have this ongoingly, like you are here, aware, not somewhere else. Yeah, so try to practice this the best you can, so that also you are not lost in the speaker, you know, looking at Mihai, and you are totally lost like that. Even, okay, now you're listening to Mihai, this is good, you are not thinking about your dog or something you got to do, or your husband. Okay, you are here listening to Mihai, but you are absorbed, you are lost in this. That's not ideal either. So listen to the speaker, but also part of the attention stays with yourself. You are aware of yourself. You don't give me all your attention. You're not lost in Mihai. You keep some awareness for yourself. But you're not like absorbed in self-absorbed, narcissistic, oh, what do you think of me and am I okay? Well, you know, yeah, so it's like I am going to go to the bathroom. All right, so coming back from the break, and yeah, just a little clarification in connection to what I said before. When I said don't be lost in the speaker or don't be lost in some external object, like, you know, this guy. What it means, and to keep some attention for yourself, like let's say now I'm looking at, you guys can practice this, I'm looking at Michael, and hang on, I'll just make you, anyway, I'm looking at Michael, and I'm not daydreaming. I'm really paying attention to Michael. But then I'm aware of sitting. Yeah, I'm aware of sitting too. I'm aware of my breath. I'm aware there's some energy here, a little bit of. So I don't need to create some more thoughts in my mind or dialogue in order to not be lost in him. Actually, when I start to create dialogue in my mind, then I'm not with him anymore, and I'm not even with what's happening. So I'm in some kind of spiritual daydreaming. So divide your attention with something, like you're aware of your body, the energies in the body, aware of the breath, aware of sounds. There's not fascination. It's more like a global presencing. All right. Now we are getting into it. So the fourth way is not so popular, will never be so popular, because it shares some strong stuff which people don't want to hear. That's why it's not popular. And the foundation premise, the foundational premise, starting point of this teaching is that human beings, men, women, human being, as nature brings us to adulthood, we are not a complete being. We are unfinished. The human being is like an interesting experiment as compared to all the other species. It apparently, nature or God or the creator created all the species here, like an alligator or a deer or a dog or a cat or a dolphin. It brings them, nature brought them to maximum fulfillment, to total completion. So when you see a cheetah, it's the ultimate cheetah it can be. That's it. It's full on, has reached its potential already. Human beings are not like that. Nature brings us to a certain state of development, especially development of the body and on some emotional, intellectual, kinetic function. And then we are left as we are, and then we have the option to remain as we are, to evolve, or to devolve and degenerate. These are the options. However, in order to evolve, to complete ourselves, to reach our potential from the point of view of what we are seeded with, like an acorn has the potential of being an oak tree. Yeah. In order to fulfill this potential, it is necessary to make conscious, intentional effort for a long time to achieve this evolution. So, yeah. So the condition of human beings as we are left, and going for our education and school and university and all of that, is ultimately, if we are really honest, it's a state of dissatisfaction. Actually, Buddha was talking about it. It's a dukkha, dissatisfaction, suffering. Whether if it's intense suffering or it is mild dissatisfaction, low humming, there's a dissatisfaction, there's a sense of lack, There is a sense of something is missing, something is not quite right. There is a sense of unease. There is a sense of not being settled. And there is disharmony within our body-mind, disharmony in the heart, disharmony in the mind, disharmony between the mind and the heart and the body. And we are living in what's called the substate. This work actually is for people who are a little bit intuitively or experientially aware of that. If you think that life is groovy and you're doing great, then you shouldn't be here. It means that you don't need this. You don't need this. This is only for people who are some kind of dissatisfied with what's happening right now, and they have a sense that there's more possible. There's more that I'm missing. You know, a bit like a Neo in Matrix. He was a relatively successful programmer and having fun and creative, but he felt that there is something is not quite right and something is missing, and he was seeking some answers. And unbeknownst to him, Neo in Matrix, he was right, because the one that he thought he was actually was dreaming. He was dreaming. Actually, he wasn't even there. He was in a jar, sucked by the machine, living unconsciously all his life in sleep, while dreaming to be a creative, successful programmer. All right, so let's get more with the fourth way here. An important part of this teaching is that there are 4 states of consciousness. Also, what we call consciousness, what is called as consciousness or presence or awareness, is, to define it, it's that which is aware right now, that which is hearing and aware of feelings in the body, aware of judgments in your head, aware of memories, aware of sounds. So consciousness or awareness, presence, is that which is aware. Yeah? And in this teaching, the idea is that this consciousness can be in 4 different states of consciousness, or maybe this consciousness can be in different settings. It's a little bit like water, you know. Water can be in the form of ice, water can be in the form of a liquid, and water can be in the form of vapor. It's kind of like that. And according to the fourth way, there are 4 states of consciousness possible and available to human beings. So I'm going to go through them briefly. The first state of consciousness is when we sleep at night. Yeah, we all know this one, where we are not aware of the environment, we are not aware of even inner sensations, and we fluctuate between having dreams or having so-called deep sleep. And we are not aware of the externals. The senses are disconnected unless some strong sound or strong smell comes along, may wake us up in another state. Yeah, so the senses are disconnected, and then when we go to a deeper first state of consciousness, deeper sleep, even the mind is disconnected. There's no more dreaming, and it's just deep sleep. So this is the first state of consciousness. The second state of consciousness is when we wake up in the morning. We all wake up, we all experience this state, and it is called the waking state. for people. Usually people call it waking state. And the state where we live our life, where politicians, they make laws, and soldiers go to war, and criminals do their crimes, and lovers make love, and engineers, they engineer, and scientists, they discover, go to work. Yeah, so this is the second state of consciousness. It's called waking state. The usual person, ordinary person, kind of, which is everybody, we live only in these two states, either sleeping or that one. And according to the fourth way teaching, there are two more states of consciousness, two more settings that are available to man. However, they don't happen. They don't happen. The first and second state, the sleep and the waking state, they happen to you and to all creatures. Yeah. The third state is very tricky. The third state of consciousness is called self-consciousness. Self-consciousness. What's tricky about the third state is that we believe we already possess it. We believe that we are aware of ourselves. We believe that we know ourselves. We believe we are conscious. Yeah, so that is one big challenge of this work, is that it is hard to decide to make efforts, intense efforts for a long time in order to gain something that you think you already have. So, the state of self-consciousness happens automatically for all of us without spiritual work. It happens automatically by accident. In times of great beauty, or in times of shock, of something very unusual happening, in the times of accident, or something extremely unusual, beautiful, shocking, a great sunset at a canyon, or just found out that something terrible happened, or just had an accident, or or in childhood. That's the state for a regular person. It happens by itself, and it doesn't quite know, the person doesn't know quite what happened. They sense that something is different, but they don't know what that was, and then it fades away very quickly. The quality of this third state of consciousness, or self-consciousness, is this feeling that, whoa, I'm here, me, and in this place, and just vividly present somehow. This is what the third state that happens mechanically, automatically for everybody. Usually this type of state, because it's a deeper, higher state of consciousness, it creates, it imprints, it sears into our being, it creates memory. So we remember that vividly. We remember something vividly. Maybe you got married, or you had your first child. That's very likely like a third state, mechanical third state happening to you. Or something in childhood. Santa came, gave you this little candy, you never had this candy. It's like, whoa, you remember just as if it were today. Yeah. Now, in the second state, the waking state, as compared to other possible states, the waking state is considered in the fourth way is called waking sleep. In compared to what's possible in terms of level of consciousness, our usual second state is like being a sleepwalker, like a zombie, basically. In the usual second state that we are living in normally, and our parents live in, and basically what's happening is that the consciousness, that which is aware, is kind of half asleep, is dormant, and is constantly, first of all, doesn't know itself. We don't know. We don't know who we are, really. I mean, we have some thoughts, we may have some spiritual thoughts, but we really don't know. And this, which is aware, is unaware of itself and is constantly sucked into thoughts and feelings, and is constantly lost in some phenomena, outer phenomena, inner phenomena. Yeah, so I'll describe now the second state, which is what's now for everybody. Also in this second state, waking sleep, we have there's all kind of stuff that's happening. We have negative, we have a lot, there's always daydreaming. There's always past, future. Then there's worrying about negative stuff that will happen in the future, or rehashing, or churning on past stuff that happened in the past. We have thoughts that I'm not good enough, or I am unworthy, or I'm better, or I'm worse. We are totally wallowing, we are either sucked in unpleasant emotions, wallowing in them, or we are trying to suppress them and avoid them. And that's the situation. We have different subparts, different sub-personalities. They don't know each other. One is trying to be a loving man and be a symbol of love here, and another part here is like hating a lot of people, including myself. And then another part here is trying to be a good boy to get approval and get love. And another part here says, I don't give a shit, I don't care. So all these 6, 7, 8 sub-identities that are disconnected from each other, there are buffers in between them. So our sense of identity falls from one or the other, you know? Yeah. Okay, let's get back on track here. Also, in the second state, the characteristic is that since the consciousness doesn't know itself, is not aware of itself, is constantly lost in all of these things, it feels unstable. It's all the time, it's unsafe, feels unsafe, it's unstable. There's nothing I can rely on, nothing I can count on. The thoughts are constantly changing, the feelings are changing, relationships are changing. There is a sense of instability. There is a sense of me being separate. In the second state, there is a feeling that I am me, and me is separate. I am my own separate, autonomous entity doing my own thing, believing that we are separate from nature, separate from the sun, separate from each other, separate from the earth, separate from God. It's all kind of feeling separate. And this brings about disharmony, turmoil, sense of lack, fear, and a lot of unnecessary self-created suffering. Yep. The third state, the whole point of, from one angle, the practice that I described, this self-observation, the being present practice that I described, and the whole point of the fourth way is to now consciously and intentionally go towards higher states of consciousness, towards the third state. Third state is one knows the truth about oneself. One knows oneself. These are two levels here. I know all the tendencies of Mihai, and all his bullshit and all the pretense and all the personalities and all the patterns and all the limiting beliefs. I'm aware of them. I know all of this Mihai operation, aware of these things, inner lies, inner contradictions. I'm aware of the thoughts rather than the thoughts are happening in sleep. I'm aware of the feelings. I'm very aware of everything that arises here. I'm aware even of some of their subconscious material that stirs my thoughts and feelings. And the third state, all of these states, just like the state of sleep, they are degrees. It's not like jit, jit, jit. It's like a dimmer switch. Yeah. In a third state, I know the truth about this, what's here, but also awareness, that which is aware, the presence, it becomes aware of itself. So I am aware that I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the feelings, I'm not my bullshit. I am, if there has to be like an identity, the identity is as this, or this aware being, the presence. So the feeling of identity in the third state, instead of being I am this dude who has a lot of problems, is that I am the presence that is aware of the dude that has problems. In the second state, waking sleep, the mind is running the show. The mind is ceaselessly busy. In the third state, when there is self-consciousness, self-awareness, and more vividly presence, the mind doesn't do all that shit. The mind becomes a useful tool. The mind is quiet unless it is needed. The mind doesn't attack me. Or even if it does attack, I'm aware of the attack. I'm aware, I'm the watcher of this self-pity or self-deprecation or something. Yeah? Okay. Although the third state happens spontaneously from time to time, what we want through conscious effort to reliably, certain practices, teachings, understanding, to reliably move the dial of our consciousness so it's more into the third state, longer and longer, more frequently for longer duration. Yeah, so this self-consciousness or the third state has degrees, has certain measurements. How often during the day and how long it lasts, this higher state. And then how much penetration it has, how much I see. There's not much literature in spiritual literature about the third state, which is very interesting. It's assumed we have it, and that's a big obstacle. There's a lot of literature in spiritual literature about the fourth state. So I'm going to go now to the fourth state. However, in order to experience the fourth state of consciousness, which is like the highest level as possible to human beings, highest level of awareness, of wisdom, of knowing the truth, of In order to reach the fourth state of consciousness more, one has to live more predominantly in the third state. The third state of self-consciousness needs to get more established in order to have glimpses and to access the fourth state. The fourth state, if the third state was called self-consciousness, knowing the truth about myself, both the false self as well as the true self. The fourth state is called objective consciousness. It is knowing the truth, about everything, about the laws of the universe, about how it operates here. There's a lot of spiritual literature, all these deep sages and deep saints, and they have some deep books that you are like, whoa, this guy was really like, whoa. That is very likely talking about their experience of the fourth state. All of these states, they all happening on top of each other. We still sleep in the night, and they are dimensions of another, they are expanding. In the fourth state, so the fourth state is more, that's interesting because Gurdjieff didn't even want to speak too much. Gurdjieff and Uspensky, they didn't want to speak too much about the fourth state because that will foster spiritual fantasies in people. And will create all this imagination and daydreaming and bullshit, basically, spiritual bullshit. It was not practical. What's practical is to help people realize that you are asleep, man. You're asleep. And then you can become more aware in the third state. And this requires a lot of work and persistence to do that. So there's no useful to talk about now the fourth state. Yeah, but however, I will talk about it because on YouTube and everywhere on Instagram they talk about it, so I just want to give a context. So this fourth state is that not only that knowing that I am the presence, but that this presence is not personal, is not limited. This presence is the divine. There is only one presence here. So this presence is actually God's presence. And actually Mihai is not Mihai. Mihai and Eric and Krista is the divine consciousness expressing itself as that. Even if Krista doesn't know that. Even if Krista believes it's Krista, doesn't fucking matter. Because still the divine consciousness expressing itself as Krista that is confused. So in the fourth state, like four state insights are the Atman is Brahman, this presence is God in Hindu stuff. In Islam is wherever your eyes fall, there is the face of God. Yeah, all is one. There's only one. There's only one consciousness, only one reality. All is well. And unfolding as it should. There's no problem. Even if people are tortured right now, and kids are butchered, and women are raped, all is well and absolute safety. All of these statements, they come from a fourth state of consciousness. So in the fourth state of consciousness, one not just dispenses this wisdom, like, hey, but one really feels it, smells it, is it, it's obvious. Jesus would say, I and the Father are one. That is fourth state statement. All right, so these are the four states. So in the fourth way teaching, man is an incomplete being. Why? Because we live only in the first two states. We have a big house with 4 floors, and the last 2 floors are really spacious. And the last one is very spacious with a terrace and a global view of the whole thing. And we just live in the basement, basically. That's why man is an incomplete being. What we want, we want peace and harmony and lack of worries, and to experience love and beauty, and to that's not possible in the second state. The second state is turmoil, from intense turmoil to mild turmoil. So all the thing we want, happiness, peace, fulfillment, knowing the presence of God, whatever, all of these are actually come with the third and fourth state. So I feel like that if there are any, I will give maybe 10 minutes or so, 10, 12 minutes of questions or something, because I think if I talk for 3 hours, yoga is going to fall asleep, I'm going to fall asleep, everybody's going to fall asleep. So if there are any questions, actual question about what I said so far, now is the time. There's no space now for just sharing or trying to be seen or to be heard or to be funny or whatever. If there's any question about what I just said.
I have a quick question, Mihai. So if we're abiding in this either third or fourth state, I'm thinking more third, fourth seems hard to attain, but does that help purify when we are in the second state? Because you said they're all happening kind of at once, layered, and you're saying the second state is turmoil, but can it purify the second state so that it's less tumultuous? Like life is suffering, Buddha said, but I don't know that it has to be.
From one angle, to experience the third state, when I'm aware of being aware as well as of what's happening here,
Mm-hmm.
in order for that to be experiential true, there has already been a lot of purification.
Mm-hmm.
There has already been a lot of work to have longer duration of that, to live like that. So that in itself is a product of conscious effort and of a quieting of the mind, and of purifying a lot of negative, the unpleasant, negative emotional experiences, and the state of embroidery. And in the second state, I have a thought that goes to thoughts, feelings, and I'm looping, and then it's activated by trigger and my trauma from childhood, and so takes over the whole thing. So to experience more this self-consciousness, to live like that, that needs to have settled to a big degree, to some degree. They are still shit. There's still unconscious patterns coming up. There's still some residual of this coming up. And from the third state, the purification continues more and more. The expansion continues. And if you were abiding the fourth state, you wouldn't be coming to this meeting. So let's talk about that. You'll be bored. You'll be like, oh, that's sweet. I will talk a little bit now, let's say, the structure of what's the From one angle of this fourth way, the human being, the human body, mind, computer consciousness, it's like a mysterious thing, like a hologram, and you can look at it from different points of view. You know, why I gave you the holographic point of view of human being from the point of view of four states of consciousness. That's what we've done so far. Then we looked at the slice of the human biocomputer being through the lens of having not just one mind, but having 5 different centers that are generating this multiplicity of eyes and all of that. That's another holographic look at our human being. So I will offer another one. According to the fourth way, and actually many teachings, and even good psychological, modern psychological schools, there's this idea that when we come here as a baby, there is essence, what's called essence. Essence is what is real and true and authentic about ourselves. It's what we came here with. That's essence. And then personality, which persona in Greek means mask. Personality is what is accumulated later. Yeah, so that's an important distinction. That's a very important distinction in the fourth way to understand there are different dimensions of ourselves. Here, there's the essence, and then there is the personality, which in the fourth way is called false personality. False personality, or the imaginary picture of myself. Imaginary picture of myself. You can call it ego, although there's so much ego stuff, so let's not go there. But when you see a baby or a toddler, you can see the essence. And also when it's like a baby, it's just aware. Basically, it's just aware. Doesn't know what it is aware of, doesn't have associations, doesn't know anything, is just aware. Is not aware that there is a body here. Or that there is a world, or that there is mommy. It's just aware, unconditioned perceiving. That is, so awareness, or this presence that the babies have, they are perceiving. That's from one angle the essence of the essence. That's the essence of the essence. So it's the presence of awareness is part of the essence. However, babies or toddlers, they are aware, and they are this awareness, but they are not aware that they are it. Yeah, so they are it, but they are not aware of themselves as the awareness. Anyway, in the essence, it's also certain tendencies and proclivities and peculiarities that we have, that you can see in children, even young children. They are different. It's not the same child. They are very different. Different temperaments, so we have some innate tendencies, some at the level of the centers. Some are more in the sports and kinetic. Some are more kinetic oriented. Some are more relational oriented and relational and artsy and painting, and some are more like kinetic, intellectual, engineering, this or that. Some are into books, a lot of books, the intellect. Some are more like highly sociable kids, yeah. Some are a little bit more quiet, introvert. Some are like, hey, all right, let's get together. We have this mission. We are going to do that. You come with me and do that. There's some leadership. There's some people that are leader in essence, and there are some other people, they are like, hey, come with me. Oh, okay. I'm coming. You know, so there are some more active types, passive types. So I won't go into detail here, but at the level of the essence, it's some innate tendency, qualities that are natural, authentic, real about this expression of the divine here, about this Mihai. You know, I went to a reunion 20 years after the end of a primary school. I went there. I was 35, and I asked my colleagues, like, hey man, how was Mihai when he was 7 or 8? And they will tell me, oh, he was like that and like that. And I'll be like, yeah, you know, that's some kind of my essence. Although by age 7 or 8, all right, the idea is that we come here with this essence, which is our presence as well as innate tendencies. These innate tendencies could be also coming as tendencies from other lives, past lives tendencies. Could be. Has to be verified, but yeah. And these tendencies of this body mind. And in the fourth way, there's a detailed teachings of certain body types and very detailed teachings that where basically you can recognize just how people look. You know there's what's the typology of their mind and psychic and whatever, but that's, I'm not going to go into it now. The idea is that we come here with essence, but as soon as we are here, there comes information. We are being taught. We are being taught, like mommy says, oh, that is an oak tree and this is yellow and this is this, and oh no, we need to share, and you know, which is fine, you know, it's so you get this socialization and conceptualization. So we are taught about this world, so we start to get programs of information about the world, about myself, about what it means to be a good boy, what it means to be a good girl. So we get these programs from our parents who are unconscious and in false personality. So we get this. So essence now is there as a foundation, what's true and real, but then soon there are more and more programs, conditions of personality, of what is not true actually about us. And if we were born in another family or another age or another location, there will be a different personality. So we start to develop this personality. That's why you see by a certain age that innocence and purity and spontaneity and freedom is kind of diminishing. And now there's this little kid who is now kind of like a little rigid and has all these rules and all these things, and it's no longer, something is lost. Yeah. So personality is formed. Let's get into it. Personality is formed through education, through our parents, through society, through media, endless programs. Personality is formed also through imitation. My father is in a certain way. My mother is in a certain way. My uncle in a certain way. Our mirroring neurons, we are becoming it. We are becoming it. Even if I don't like him, I become it. Or I try to be something like not like that. So through imitation, interaction, there's more personality being formed. Also through wounding. Here is not kingdom of heaven, you know, it's not like, oh yeah, it's a tough world here. And we are shocked and hurt and unloved multiple times, and then our consciousness and essence is like, fuck, and then it starts to adapt to this world by becoming in a certain way, becomes a strategic adaptation. Oh, okay, so which is how to be different, not how I really am, but in order to adapt to this environment, in order to get love, approval, and not be beaten or yelled at or punished. So we develop more of this trying to be good, trying to perform, to be funny, being a pleaser, being a straight A person, being funny, hiding, lying, compromising. So anyway, so all of this forms personality, and then especially in our Western culture, these days, very soon, actually, the school education is doesn't teach essence how to grow and to expand, but actually teaches personality, with the exception of Montessori school and Waldorf school, which still keep in mind some developing essence in some way. All the rest of education system is pernicious, is vicious, and it actually goes against essence of what's true, and it programs more personality. So by the time we are like 15 or 16, and by the time we are adults, what's true about us, our authentic nature, is a kind of, is not safe to be free. It's kind of in the corner somewhere, pushed down. And on top, there are many layers of false identity. Also these beliefs: I'm not good enough, nobody loves me, I'm not worthy, I'm not man enough, I'm ugly, I'm broken, I'm better, people don't know, I'm so much better, and then I have that I'm not good enough at the same time. So all of this stuff. Oh, I have to be careful, don't do this, don't show that, don't express, don't put boundaries, be nice, be good, whatever. So what's true about us gets pushed down, and the false is running the show. And consciousness is asleep to itself. That's the situation, basically. The more in our society, the personality, which is what is false, is active. What is false is active. What is true, our essence, is passive, and consciousness is asleep. That's what the situation is. The more personality is oppressing essence, the more they are opposite to each other, the more turmoil and suffering ones have. Yeah. Part of the work of the fourth way, from one angle, the map of the work, from what I just described, is that we learn these teachings, we study the teachings, first books, videos, this or that. We are given certain practices to practice. So in this attempt, we are developing another personality. It's called the work personality or true personality, a part of our false self, which is interested to acquire the technology for growth. Yeah. Then through the practices, we are becoming more aware, more conscious, and through the work, what will happen, we are going to study the false personality. We know it very well without judging it or hating it. That's very important. The fourth way, whatever we observe our shit as if it's an interesting, curious stranger. So we don't reject it, we don't beat ourselves up, we observe neutrally. So through the work, study of the ideas and application of the practices, we study our false personality, false tendencies, and gradually they diminish. They diminish. As they diminish, our essence, our true, what's true about us starts to be more online. And what's true starts to be more online. The more what's true, our authentic nature becomes more, it starts to grow, it starts to be more in charge. We are happier. Personality is unhappy. Even if they seem happy. Mr. Whatever and Mr. Whatever, big shots and famous and rich, they are not happy. I'm telling you. Okay. They seem happy, but they are not. They are tortured. So that's the work. The personality diminishes, essence grows. As essence grows, now essence grows, is more in charge, more authentic, more real, but not naive. You are not naive. You are not a child anymore. Spontaneity, innocence is more online, but you are not naive and like you're not like it's a little bit experienced, this discrimination, and then there is more and more self-awareness. So the work is to diminish more and more. Why we are not in the third state and the fourth state is because the false personality is running our show and there's not enough light.
So I feel like essence connects more naturally to consciousness.
Yeah.
False personality trying to wake up doesn't work. And it goes
Yes.
against all the laws.
Yes, false personality trying to wake up doesn't work. However, we are kind of starting from that. We are starting from that. However, that impulse the impulse that is some genuine fire, interest in the truth that comes from a deep something, and that is infused with some false personality too. As Peter would say, the essence is a seed case for presence. Somehow, as essence is more allowed to run the show and is developing, is becoming more aware, and from there, it's from the real acorn seed that the oak can grow, not from a fake seed. No, GMO, yeah.
But you have to study. What I see inside myself is with this work is I really have to see like what part of this biocomputer is personality and what is truly essence. And it, for me, I'm still teasing that apart to this day, 2 years
Yeah.
in.
Okay, yeah. Well, the last thing I wanted to touch, which is like a joke, but is connected to what Eric was asking, and this idea, as we get the tools of being more aware and observing ourselves, and we get the maps what to watch out for, and another map is called the 6 obstacles to awakening. There are 6 obstacles. 6 obstacles, which are, whenever those manifestations are happening, it means that consciousness is asleep and false personality is running the show. So it's not that it's bad or sinful or something, it's just the 6 obstacles is like major areas of sleep. And if we want to become more awake, we need to diminish them by studying them and dissolving them gradually. The first, I would say, okay, one of the obstacles is what is called identification. Identification is very hard to understand at the beginning because we are always identified. So it's like what? Like one needs to have experienced periods of non-identification to realize what identification is. But we have this nice intellect, so I can speak about it. Identification is that which is aware, the presence, is constantly sucked into something, sucked into the thoughts about me, churning the story about me being bad, or them being bad, or she's bad, they are bad, I'm bad. There is this identification with the thoughts, yeah, identification with the mind. In the second state, and all people are all the time identified with their mind. Identification with our feelings, being caught in it, lost in it, taken by it, react, yeah? Identification. Like a very clear identification you can see these days is this with electronics. That is it. When you're like, somehow, I'm not aware of the world, I'm not aware of what's happening, I'm not aware actually that actually feels like shit, actually. And there's this, yeah, I'm sucked into awareness, is not aware of itself and is sucked into something. Identification. From one angle, all obstacles come down to identification. Identification of judgments, identification of desires, likes, fears, hopes, identification. We have an imagined future, it's going to happen, and identification with what we want and attachment. This another obstacle is what is called in the fourth way is called imagination. Fourth way uses some type of is called work terms. They are particular terms because this is like a science. You can't talk, we have to be precise with words. Imagination in the fourth way doesn't mean creative imagination. No, imagination refers to this daydreaming. The state of unawareness where there's always thoughts about past or future, worries, desire, negative scenarios, me, thoughts, constant stream of thoughts, like a radio in the head that speaks all the time, narrator, and that usually is not happy. You know, this imagination is not like, oh, I'm gonna go to Hawaii, you know, it's gonna be great. It's like, yeah, I'm looking forward, it will be nice. Like, yeah, and no, usually it's like, yeah, but like this and the problems and them, and it's torturous. Sooner or later, it's torturous, basically. Unless one has strong kind of narcissistic vanity tendencies where the imagination is like, yeah, like, you know, which is even more tricky because that's bullshit. It's less torturous for the person. But anyway, people who have this strong narcissistic or vanity, usually underneath, they deep down, they also feel like they're a piece of shit. So, but they are not aware of it. So another obstacle is this daydreaming. Yeah. So in the fourth way, straight off the bat, we are instructed to, okay, what are the guidelines? What are the rules? To know that this is not okay to be okay with being checked out all day, every day, and be lost in thoughts. That is sleep. So I'm trying to keep harnessing attention and keep coming back to the present moment, keep harnessing attention to become self-consciousness and all of that. Now, this doesn't mean not to think. If you have to plan an event or you have to do something, that's okay. That's having thinking, useful thinking is different than imagination. Is uncontrolled, unconscious, irrelevant mind activity that goes by itself and we identify with it. That's an obstacle. The third obstacle is this whole area of expressing unpleasant emotions, expressing them. Basically, something bothers us and we are bitching about it. So we are expressing our unpleasant emotions and we are upset about the weather, upset about the government, upset about everything, all this, the production and reactive expression of unpleasant sensations and feelings. Yeah, first of all, a lot of these negative emotions, negative unpleasant emotions, they wouldn't be there if we were more awake and if our false personality would be more passive, would be in essence. So our negative unpleasant emotions, they are also connected to some other weird shit that we are pulling. And then we are upset about it and we are getting identified with it and then we are wallowing in it. Either we're talking outside about all the bad things that happen and resentment and this and gossip and blame and all of that. How can it be like this? I can't believe it. You know, these children, God damn it, fuck it. Impatience, irritation, fear, all that. This goes outside or it goes inside. Some people are going inside. They are like, but inside is going like this. And some people are like, what the fuck is like, you know? So this state of being identified and oozing, this comes from inability to be with intense energy. And then we are kind of leaking this energy and then we are tired, you know, and actually reinforces the lie that I'm feeling like this because of you. I'm not feeling like this because of you. It's because of a lot of factors I'm feeling like this. So the expression of unpleasant emotions, that's an obstacle. Now, another obstacle, don't focus on it on a fourth way too much, but there is the other opposite too, because non-expression doesn't mean repression. There's another thing, some of us, we got shocked and scared, so we learn early on to suppress our emotions, to suppress it right away. So that also is a problem. To have emotions that are there and you push them away, rejecting them, that is an obstacle too. Now, wallowing in it and expressing and oozing it out, shooting it on everybody, there's also an obstacle. Another obstacle is called inner considering, which is a specialized fourth way term, which means identified with the imaginary picture of me that I want to project. Being identified with other people's opinions towards me. This is actually very prevalent. It creates a lot of so-called anxiety and all that. And it's a constant dynamism of what they think of me and trying to be in a certain way they think good and trying they think bad about me. Another obstacle is lying. But lying in the fourth way is much more than just this out of integrity, dishonesty, deceptiveness. Yeah, it includes all of that, because what is it that creates this deceptiveness and hiding and out of integrity? That's a lot of problems in it. Needs to be looked at. But there's also other forms of lying. Lying is like talking about things that we don't know and we cannot know. Talking them as if we know. That's a big problem. And also lying for exaggeration, to be more juicy, to get juice, to be like me and all of that. Also, another form of lying is that, from one angle, forced personality is a lie in itself. So not being real, not being authentic, not being fake, which is very prevalent because everybody is kind of fake. So then we practice being fake nice, lying. And the last obstacle is called unnecessary talk. It's another form of just like daydreaming is in the head. Unnecessary talk is like just whatever thought comes along, just talking all the time, chatting for the sake of chatting, to be interesting, to avoid the discomfort of being in silence, talking about myself all the time, just talking. All of these obstacles that I mentioned, they are leaking the energy we accumulated in the night and through sleep, air, and food and water. So this energy is leaked. And what we want is to plug this leak, these obstacles. So in the fourth way, we are instructed to start by struggling with these things and investigating these areas. And so by doing that, there will be some type of purification happening, the false shit will diminish. So now the true will have more space to be and has a chance to recognize itself and grow. I think I will stop here with this. Yeah. I guess one other thing is that according to this teaching, one cannot do this by yourself. You cannot do this by yourself. It's so fucking complex. I mean, you can't learn tennis by yourself, man. You can't learn piano by yourself. You can't learn how to be a plumber by yourself, let alone the ultimate science and art of the soul. So it's not possible. So in the fourth way, there are some, hey, you need to realize that. You need to realize I'm asleep and I don't know what the fuck to do. And it's important in order for this work to be successful to work with others. So in the fourth way, it's not so much like it's like a teacher and there are like 5,000 people listening to him and all of that. That's not like that. That's not very productive. They are more like small groups. There are small groups of people that are interested in working on this. The people in the group are different levels of development. Some, they are more experienced and qualified to teach, and some are more like older students, some are newer students. So there's this group in where we are having what's called several lines of work. Because if I'm just by myself reading books and doing this in my free time, that's not going to work. At some point, it's going to slow down, get bored or stuck, or I'm going to lie to myself, think that I'm the shit, but I'm not. Self-deception. We are very good at self-deception. So working on oneself, although is the most important, is not enough. So there's just one engine. Then working with others, being in the company of others, exploring these ideas, talking about it, putting aims, doing activities together. That is called the second line. Giving feedback. As we get more experience in trusting, we start to say, hey man, I noticed that you keep doing that when this and that, and everybody sees that. Can you look into it? So these photographs, this feedback, we can't see ourselves because we are too stuck in our own shit, but other people can see us. So it's the principle of, it's a second line of work, it's a second engine, and then there's a third line of work, which would be like working for the group or for the school, some kind of type of service. So in this way, this ensures that our inner desire and fire of our heart to apply this, it doesn't die down in an impasse. So we are working with 3 different engines at the same time. In this way, we ensure continuity. Yeah, if there are any, I think I'm done here with this presentation of ideas, and if there are any questions about this, or also questions about this or the spiritual path in general.